Oil and gas rigs are designed to move, but big iron doesn't move itself. You have to do it. Rig moves can be one of the most dangerous parts of the drilling cycle. This video will show you several different rigs as they are either taken down or rigged up, and will introduce you to people who know how to do it safely. No one wants to get hurt, so stay tuned to learn a few things about rig moves that could keep you safe.
I'd love to say that there is no danger on our operation, but the rigging up and rigging down procedures are the ones that I see that have the highest potential, because you've got so much activity going on at one time that, you know, it wouldn't take but one thing going wrong to hurt 3 or 4 people.
It is a dangerous business we do. A lot of the big iron that is moving around out there is there's a lot of weight to it, there's a lot of speed, there's a lot of things moving very quickly. Those who've been here for a long time understand the dangers of this industry, and so the first thing that someone new to this industry has to keep in mind is listen. Just listen to that experience, appreciate that experience, because they do know.
I think the most important thing is just to, for a roughneck in this day and age, is to learn as much as you can, because these older guys aren't going to be around to teach us this anymore. They're getting older and retiring, and there's definitely a gap in between them and us, and we need to focus on filling in the gap. And that's our responsibility right now, is just to learn everything we can.
Listening to people with experience just makes sense. Rig moves can be very dangerous if you aren't paying attention. Let's see what actually happens during a rig move.
We never move the rigs at night. There's too many hazards to do it in the dark. We have to wait till daylight to start. In the morning, first thing at daylight, the trucking company will show up on location, all the truck drivers, forklift drivers, haul truck drivers, swampers, all the rig crews that are there. We'll all meet over at the company man's trailer, and we'll have a pre-job safety meeting.
Each and every man on this location needs to stay focused on well control.
The size of the rig makes a difference on how you disassemble and assemble the rig, but the process is pretty much the same no matter what size. You might not have near as many trucks on a small rig. On a big rig, you might have cranes on location. It'll be real hectic, lots of movement, lots of trucks running around. Pretty congested. These locations are small locations. There'll be 50, 60 people, dozens of trucks. It's very hectic.
The truck pusher will orchestrate all the trucks as far as coming in and out. He has a radio he carries with him at all times while on location. And he'll tell the trucks what to do and when to do them.
Ian, come move this trailer, this change house.
Okay guys, here we go, rigging up. Just pay attention to what all's going on. We're going to have several things going on at one time. Some of you guys are going to be setting pits and doing other things. Watch your pinch points, watch your hands, your toes, everything. Pay attention to what's going on. In trucks, let's make sure we're using our tag lines.
If you are working off the ground, you must wear fall protection. And remember, it doesn't work if you don't tie it off.
If you're 6 feet off the ground, be sure you tie it off. You better drive in pins in. You guys need to have a harness on. Setting our loads down and stuff. You got to get in between the truck and the load. Where he sets the load down, let the driver know you back there. If you can't pick it up, there's plenty of guys out here to help you. If it's too heavy, don't even attempt it.
Well, I don't really orchestrate the rig move. The truck pusher usually takes that responsibility. He's going to do it in a logical order. That truck pusher, he orchestrates the whole thing.
Easy! And come easy!
The toe pusher's in charge of the whole dance, but each driller on each crew has his responsibilities. Rig crews do all the rigging down and the rigging up. It's our equipment, so we take care of the putting it together and taking it apart. There's a lot going on for one person to watch. So the drillers take a big responsibility in rigging down and rigging up, explaining to their hands where they need to do, what they need to do, when they need to do it. But each crew has their own responsibility on rig down and rig up.
It is chaotic out while we're working out here because we got 9 million things trying to go on at the same time. We would love it to be more organized, but you know, if you're trying to do one thing and then if something else comes up, we'll hurry over and try to accommodate that particular thing. The most dangerous thing in the oil field is we're working with such heavy iron. It has no forgiveness, you know, it has no feelings. So if it hits you, it'll kill you. You know, it don't take but, you know, falling two inches and it'd smash you to pieces. So just be careful, watch their body placements and their hand placements. If you can't see your hand, it's in the wrong spot. You know, you gotta be able to see it at all times because you can't stop nothing when you can't see it.
Organized chaos is a good way to put it. The locations are fairly small, and there is a lot of traffic. It's pretty hectic, but it really does go fairly smoothly. We try to work on the buddy system out here. You watch out for yourself, you also watch out for the other guy. If you see somebody standing in the line of fire, doing something incorrectly, you stop them and try to explain the hazard to them, and hopefully they'll remember it the next time.
We take care of each other because we're like brothers and all out here working together all the time. You know, if we look out for each other and let each other know what's going on, you know.
When you move a rig, there are a lot of things you can't control, like the weather. What you can do is be prepared.
Weather is something we deal with regularly. Winter, it's cold, snow, ice, sleet. You work in it. Mother Nature can be very cruel, very cruel. But in the wintertime, you dress properly. In the summertime, the same thing.
When it's cold, we stress the cold weather injuries and all that. And with it being cold, we tell them to dress for success. Put more layers on, and if you start getting warmer, that way you can just start taking layers off. And being so slippery out here, it doesn't take much to slip and fall. And the older we get, the worse it gets. But we just get our guys to slow down. That we shouldn't be in a big enough hurry that somebody's going to get hurt.
Well, fall protection is very important because obviously it was snowing yesterday, and there's oil, there's lots of petroleum, there's slips, trips and falls. I mean, up there you had the snow, you had the ice. There's just multiple things, so it makes it a lot tougher. You tend not to focus on the job, you focus on the wind and how cold you are, and so we had plenty of help here yesterday, so we try to swap guys out, make sure they stayed warm enough, and that way they were alert enough to keep focused on their task. So we'd have guys go in their truck, sit and warm up a little bit, and you come up here and it starts snowing, you stay prepared. And all our guys, if you notice, they got bags and they have all their gear, no matter if it's from snow to rain to the sun. I mean, from sunscreen even, because you just never know what you're going to run into. So.
My main concern is with the traffic, keeping my people from getting run over. But there's also pinch point, falling objects. We're walking around a substructure that's, in my case, 20 feet off the ground. People are walking around up there knocking stuff loose. Something can roll off the rig floor and hit you. You don't want to walk under or around the sub while we're rigging the rig down. We use forklifts out here. Forklift is a dangerous piece of equipment. You can lift your load too high, get your forklift unbalanced, it can tip over with you. You can drive it too fast, turn too sharp with your loads too high, cause it to shift and tip over. You always want to carry your loads as low as possible on a forklift. You don't want to overload your forklift. You want to get your load balanced. There's an art to running a forklift. When you run the forklift, you always want to make sure you have your safety belt on. You don't want to fall out of your forklift. It's surrounded by a cage, which is probably one of the safest places to be. You don't want to try to jump out of your forklift. You need to keep your hammers and wrenches clean of grease. A drilling rig has lots of grease. You get it on your tools. You want to make sure your handles on your hammers are clean, dry. You don't want a hammer slipping out of your hand when you're swinging it full force. You don't want a wrench slipping when you're putting force behind it and busting your knuckles. Don't use hammers with broken handles. Don't use wrenches that are bent, that have weak jaws in them, that are dull. Keep your tools in good order. Your tools will make your life a lot easier on a drilling rig. Good tools are worth their weight in gold. Take care of them.
There's a lot of wires to rig up, and we got to make sure that they're all put where they're supposed to be. All your high pressure lines are snubbed off with cables and clevises, and that will all be inspected before we ever try to test those lines. Same thing with electrical. I have to go and inspect all of that before we can start up the generator or kick anything online.
Well, the bigger the rig is, the more connections you've got to it. The more pins that have to be driven in and driven out. The more hydraulic lines need to be hooked up, air lines. Make sure if you unplug electric lines, the electricity is turned off. Make sure if you knock a hose loose, there's no pressure on it. The rig move is so fast that we don't actually send people to that other location. When they get the last piece of equipment loaded up on this location, the last piece they move is the substructure, and that's the first piece they put in. So it's the last piece moved and the first piece put on. You know, it's just reverse order. You take it apart in one order and you put it back together in the opposite order. After rig release is when we start disassembling the drilling rig. We will remove our handrails from the rig floor. We'll hang our blocks in the derrick, what we call bridle up. We have a big cable we use to support the derrick when we lay it over. It hooks into the blocks and it goes over rollers on what we call our A-frame, and that supports the derrick as it's being lowered over. We use the rig itself to lay the derrick over. The power from the rig keeps the derrick from falling. We just hold it up. The most dangerous part about moving the rig with the trucks is, I would say, getting run over. And you have to watch out for yourself, and the truck drivers do a good job. Each truck will have a swamper, and he'll be watching out. He'll be on the ground too to make sure that, you know, as good as he can, that nobody gets in the way. But also you have to watch for the loads because they are heavy and there is failure. Stay away from the trucks if possible. So they're specialized trucks. Each truck has his particular job. They have certain trucks that haul the equipment down the roads. certain trucks that just pick up the equipment on location and move it to be loaded, and then when it's unloaded, they pick it up and put it into place.
Coming down!
Winches are used on the rig-up trucks to pick the loads up and put them onto the trucks. They have tandems, have roller beds on the back where they winch the bed or the load up onto the roller and then roll it up onto the truck bed and pull it off location. One hazard with those trucks is the winches have a wire rope with hooks. Having a winch line break when it's hooked up to a load is very dangerous. You want to stay clear of that.
But the cranes, a lot of the overhead hazards, I mean, there's nothing you can do. You cannot get out of the way of any hazard that's over your head fast enough without being, you know, it's going to get you. So we keep everybody out from underneath any loads, using tag lines at all times.
That would be a big hazard to walk under a suspended load. You never want to walk under anything suspended over your head.
Don't think that you can move something. Let the crane do it. That's what it's here for. It lifts and it moves. You don't try to pull or manipulate. After a couple times of them coming home being pretty sore or trying to pull something around, they understand it. Some guys get it within the first 5 minutes. Some guys take a couple days.
Highline wires, another hazard. You know, there's been several fatalities lately at poles getting into highline wires and people getting electrocuted. That's a major hazard in the oil field, electricity. We make sure all our loads are under that height. If it's possible, we have the power company come out and cut the electricity off to those poles if they're on our location and we have to rig up around them.
If you don't communicate, nobody knows what you're doing, so you make sure to let everybody know where you're going to be or what they're going to do, so you can stay out of their way but yet still do your task. And sometimes it doesn't work. You got to wait on other people. So be alert of your work, of your surroundings and what you're doing. Iron's unforgiving. It doesn't care who it hurts.
Rig moves certainly have a lot of things going on that can be pretty confusing if you're new to this job. Let's look at what we've learned. There are a lot of people out here who can teach you how to work safely. Figure out who they are and learn from them. Big Iron doesn't care who gets hurt. Watch out for dangers and watch out for each other. Your pre-shift safety meeting at the start of the rig move will include many hazards of the job. These could include pinch points, keeping your fingers and hands safe, using tag lines for suspended loads, wearing fall protection, staying out of blind zones to avoid being hit by trucks, proper lifting techniques. You can't control the weather, but you can be prepared. Make sure you have the proper clothing and protection for all types of weather, because it can change quickly. Things can be very slippery when it's icy. Slow down and stay focused. Forklifts are great tools, but can be dangerous if not used correctly. Stay out of their way if you aren't the operator. Always balance your load so you don't lose it or tip yourself over. Don't overload your forklift. Always wear a seatbelt and stay in your cab where you are protected. Take care of your hand tools. Make sure they're clean and free of grease. Don't use hand tools that are broken or bent. Rigs have a lot of cables, hydraulic lines, and electrical lines. Make sure any lines are de-energized before you disconnect them. Wait for the tool pusher to test them before you re-energize. Truck traffic is a major hazard on a rig move. Watch out for trucks and stay out of the danger zones. Moving trucks will have a swamper. Make sure he sees you if you're behind a truck. Trucks are carrying very heavy loads that can shift. Stay away from areas where they could fall on you. A lot of rig moves use trucks with winches. Wire ropes can fray and snap, and hooks can break, so stay away from areas where you could be hit by a flying cable. Cranes may be used to lift loads. They don't usually move around too much, but you need to be aware of overhead loads and stay out of those areas. High power lines will kill you. Make sure anything you're transporting is lower than the power lines in the area. Rig moves can look like organized chaos. The best way to keep yourself and your buddies safe is to communicate. The truck pusher, crane boss, tool pusher, and drillers are all trying to get the job done safely. Listen to them and let them know what's going on.
I run a pretty safe operation. We don't have a lot of accidents. We just went a year without a lost time accident, which, you know, in our profession, that's 365 days, especially moving this rig every 8-9 days. I mean, that's the most dangerous part is moving the rig, and tripping, piping. We do an awful lot of it, and we've been real lucky.
Your safety is first and foremost your primary responsibility and an obligation to yourself and to your family. There's plenty of things out here that can get you hurt. So it's really take care of yourself, take care of your brother, look over their shoulder, and you want them to look over yours.
We're extremely blessed to have the people we have working for us. The lowest man on the pole, the bottom of the crew, he has just as amount of right as anybody else on our drilling rigs. Step in and say that's not being done right. Safety's still their number one deal you worry about. If you're not working safe, you're not going to have a job.
And that's what safety is. It's a mindset. You've just got to convince yourself, you know, this is the way I'm going to do it. I'm not going to take a shortcut to make it a little easier. That's the thing. I mean, keep safe. Go home every night. Have a family, kids, grandkids. That's the most important part in life. As you get older, you realize that.